Friendship is deeply rooted in reciprocity. I'm very big on reciprocity, and I believe that friendship has to be reciprocal. I cannot be the only one calling and texting and checking up on you and showing you love and showing you care. You don't do the same to me. That's not it. You cannot be the only one receiving and not giving. Don't end up dating all the good people in your life. Don't end up dating all your friends because they are good. The fact that they are good doesn't mean they are good for you. So you don't have to always be in a relationship. Be comfortable with being single. There are phases in your life where you just came out of a relationship. The next action is not for you to jump into another relationship. You actually are supposed to take that time out, reflect on the lessons you learned from that relationship, the mistakes that you made. What did you do right? What should you do better? I used to be productivity driven. If I'm not doing something at a particular point in my life, I feel so useless. I feel like I'm wasting my life. Oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Chill. How do they say it in Igbo? GCK, Abi? GCK, something like that. But yeah, relax, chill. The purpose of life is not to arrive at the end. The purpose of life is to live it. Happiness is not something you can attain. Happiness is something that you live in the moment. Life can sometimes give you a what I ordered versus what I got. Going and along the line in leading into my 30s, I realized that, okay, what's going on here? God doesn't always speak. Sometimes God is silent, because there might be a phase in your life where God is just silent. You have prayed, you have done everything, and He's just silent. There are people who call it a wilderness journey in their life. Whenever God is silent, they'll be like, I'm in my wilderness journey. People who are very quick to say, God told me that, God said, God did this. I look at them with some side eye sometimes, because I'm like, God does not always speak. Sometimes He's silent. God will sometimes tell you the next step only after you have taken the first. It is easier to fantasize about marriage than to be married in reality, because in reality, marriage is work. For me, our purpose is one thing. Our purpose is just one thing. But we have assignments. Now, when your day break, night be your morning. I don't know how to translate it to English. It is when things start happening for you, that is when your life begins. The other person might already be living in their morning. Like the other person, their day has already broken. Did I even correct English? The other person, their day already break. Hi everyone, and welcome to the With Progress Oberiko channel. On today's episode, we will be talking about life in your 30s, and specifically focusing on 30 lessons I have learned in my 30s. So get your notes and your pen, because I also have mine as well. And I hope you are sat for this, because it is a lot. So let's get right into it. Life in your 30s. I think that no one really prepares you for life in your 30s, aside from the fear-mongering and the stereotypes that come with being in your 30s, where it's like, if you're in your 30s and you don't already have life figured out, you're doomed. Like, your 30s is almost like your apex in life. Your 30s is almost like the end of your life. If you don't have everything put together, you don't have the job, the career, the this and the that, then that's it for you. That's the end of your life. But that is absolutely not true, especially now that I am in my 30s. So on this episode, I will be walking you through some of the lessons I have learned in the few years of being in my 30s. And I'm going to split them into 8 themes, beginning with friendship, self, singleness, relationship and dating, God, marriage, career, and one more. What's the other one? You'll find out as we continue. I'm going to be sharing 30 lessons across all of these 8 themes. That means I have spread the lessons into 3 for each. Like some might be 3, some might be 2, and stuff like that. So I've split the 30 lessons across these 8 themes. So this is not a boring video, I promise you. Now, let me start with friendship. Friendship in your 30s. I like to think of my friendship as in different phase. So I had friends in primary school, friends in secondary school, university, friends I came across in other aspects of life, maybe not tied to school or work. I think that friendship comes in different ways. So in your 30s, friendship is quite mature, I like to think. And I say this because one of the first lessons I've learned in my 30s is that friendship in your 30s changes. Like the friendship dynamic changes when you're in your 30s. One, because everybody is now busy, everybody's at different phase of their life. You know, when you are in university, you are all at the same phase. You are looking to graduate and then go into the world, get jobs and other parts of your life. But now that you are in your 30s, everybody's doing different things. Like maybe some people are doing their masters, some people are navigating a new job, some people might be married, some might already have kids. So that friend that you could call anytime and say, okay, let's go here or let's do this together, their timeline is no longer the same as yours. And some might have also expanded in their career. So you people all have different timelines. Your lifestyles are quite busy. You're facing very different realities. So friendship in your 30s is very, very unique, and it has to be intentional. It's almost like you have to put it in your calendar to say, call this person today. Or for me, what I do, how I'm able to keep my friendship alive and afloat is that once I think about someone, thank God for WhatsApp and calls and all of that, once your thought crosses my mind, no matter how often or no matter how less often it happens, I will immediately drop you a line. So maybe I'll drop you a message on WhatsApp saying, oh, I just thought about you and I thought to check up on you. That message is enough. Or I drop them a call saying, oh, I was just thinking about you, Precious, and that's why I decided to call. Because if I don't do it like that, you think about the person and you move on. Before you see it's a week, it's a month, time has gone, right? So friendship in your 30s has to be really, really intentional. This can be a number 2 lesson for me. But because your realities have changed, you just have to find a way to carry each other along. You just have to find a way to still continue be the friend. Because I've seen friendships where, because you are in different parts of your life, the friendship falls apart because no one is making that effort or going the extra mile to visit or to call or to check up on this person. And I do not like the fact that some friends assume that because they see you on social media, they think you're all right. They think it's okay. I have a friend who used to do that, and I had to talk to her like, I prefer to be called or I prefer to be texted. The fact that you dropped me a line on Instagram or maybe replied to my story or commented on my post doesn't mean that I am fine. So if you are a friend, you should be able to go the extra mile to check up on your friend. So that's the number 1 lesson, or maybe 2 lessons. So the first lesson is friendship dynamics changes in your 30s, and also that you have to be intentional when it comes to friendship in your 30s because of how busy your lives are. Lesson number 2 or number 3 depends on how you're counting. Friendship is deeply rooted in reciprocity. Now, I think this is not just for friendship in your 30s, it is also friendship in your 20s and in other ages, really. Friendship, I believe, I'm very big on reciprocity, and I believe that friendship has to be reciprocal. I cannot be the only one calling and texting and checking up on you and showing you love and showing you care. You post a video and I'm commenting. You don't do the same to me. That's not it. Friendship in your 30s and in other ages in your life has to be reciprocal. In my book, which will be out soon, I mentioned that the same way we have love languages in romantic relationships, we also have love languages in friendships as well. So if you know that your friend's love language is to be loved loudly, do that for them. If you can show up for them on social media and you know that maybe they are a content creator or they are people who have like social media presence, love them out loudly. If you know that they like that sort of thing, do it for them. Friendship is big on reciprocity. You cannot be the only one receiving and not giving, right? And that's one of the reasons why I would pull out from a friendship. If you are someone who doesn't reciprocate, if I call you, you don't call me. It reminds me of an experience I had with an old-time friend. This was a friend from like secondary school, and so she got admission before me. went to university, and then anytime I was even the one trying to reach her still, because I thought, oh, university, let me still try to keep this friendship afloat. I was still very young, still a teenager, so I would be the one calling and texting and everything, and then she would be like, oh, I'm busy, I'm so occupied, I'm so this, I'm so that. So then I now got admission into university as well, and still realized that I was still the one calling and checking and doing all of that. And then I was just like, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. I cut it off, and the way I left the friendship, that was how it died. So there was no effort on her part to reach out or to keep the friendship afloat. So that was how it died. So, and then many years later, she then reaches out to me to say, hey, progress, you abandoned me. And that's the line I don't like. You cannot gaslight me into thinking I was the one who forgot about you when you were the one who actually made that friendship die, right? So she reached out to me to say, hey, you abandoned me, blah 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 blah. And I was like, well, you don't even reach out, you don't even care about me, you do nothing in the friendship, you carry no weight at all. And that was why I just like, I decided to stay on my lane. And she was like, well, but that's how I am. And that was where I had to pull her over and be like, nope, we're not doing this here. That idea of accept me the way I am without making any effort to change or become a better person does not sit well with me at all. If you are a friend, you have a toxic trait, there's a part of you that needs improvement, you are aggressive, you are impatient, you have something bad that you can work on. Do not now gaslight people to say, oh, well, this is how I am. I will not accept you for who you are. Lie. I will not accept you for who you are if you have no intentions to improve on yourself or to become better or to do better in the friendship. And that was what I told her. Yes, this is how you were behaving, and that's why I decided to cut you off. So you coming back should be, oh, I want to be better. I am sorry for how I was then. You're not coming back to me to tell me, well, this is how I am. I will walk away again. So that is one of the things I learned in friendship in my 30s, because this person, I knew them from when we were teenagers now till we are now in our 30s. So wanting to bring your teenage behavior, which by now you should have outgrown, into your 30s makes no sense to me. So I don't accommodate that. And also, I think I have to chip this in. Boundaries in friendship is something I have had to learn, because before I used to be the person that would carry you like a bag of cement, and then I am often being carried like a pinch of salt by friends or by people. So I had to learn to place people where they are. I think this is another lesson as well. I think maybe lesson 3 now on friendship. So this lesson is about staying where I belong, right? And I also had to learn this in my 30s as well. So before, I used to feel angry that, oh, I put in so much effort. Why are they not loving me the same way? Why are they not treating me the same? Why are they not calling me, checking up on me the same way I care about them deeply, right? But in my 30s, I had to quickly learn that you have to keep people where they are, and you have to stay where you are in people's life. I'll say that again. You have to put people where they belong, and you also have to stay where you have been placed in people's life. Do not overperform. Do not overplay your role in people's life. So I have this friend. Should I say friend now or an acquaintance? Because I like to separate them, right? Acquaintanceship is not the same as friendship. So my friends are people who know me deeply. They are deeply part of my circle. They are my friends, they're my guys, right? But acquaintances are people who I'm not really certain about them, or they have not made the effort on their part to become friends. It is important not to overperform your role in people's life, because someone can be your best friend, but to that person, you are just an acquaintance, actually, not even a friend. Someone can be your number 1, but on their list, you are their number 21. And I had to learn this really quickly in my friendship circles, because, as I said, I'm very big on reciprocity, right? And I like it when, I'm not saying do the exact same thing that I do to you, not really, but at least show the effort, show that you also care, show that you value this friendship as I do, right? So I have had to normalize staying in my place. If I see that you're not showing any effort to to be in that friendship or to be with me or to care for me, I would also pull back. I will give you the same energy that you give me. I will meet you exactly where you are. So I don't even call people friends unless I have seen that they have behaved in ways that demonstrated that they are actually friends, that they want to be friends. Because you see that friendship, you see the word friend is a title and it comes with responsibility. Before I call someone my friend, they must have done something. They must have proven that they are trustworthy. They must have proven that they are caring, that they are kind. There are some certain boxes that they need to tick before I now hand them the badge of you are now my friend. Otherwise, you are an acquaintance, and I'm okay with that. And I also think I mentioned in my upcoming book that we should normalize calling people acquaintance. Oh, that's my acquaintance. Oh, that's my work colleague. Oh, that's my brother's nephew. Oh, that's my neighbor. Oh, that's my flatmate. You don't use the word friend. Oh, this is my friend. This is my friend. This my friend said. This my friend did. This my friend bought me. Not really. Everybody is not your friend, because you might call them friend, but to them you are actually not their friend. I think I was listening to an episode on a podcast where this lady said she met this lady, and then they were the vibe was okay, they were doing things together, only for this lady to have a baby, and she did not invite her to her baby shower. She was not invited. And when she asked the girl, oh, why did you not invite me to your baby shower? She was like, oh, it's for my friends alone. And she was like, what are we, or what were we all this while? So you see, you don't assume that you are someone's friend unless they have entrusted you with that responsibility, unless you see that they've actually shown that they like you, that they value your presence, your time, and who you are and what you represent, right? So yes, don't overplay your role in people's life. Don't overplay your role in people's life. So if I meet you where you are, I match your energy. If you show up for me, I show up for you. If you call me, I call you, and all of that. I think that's a mature way to be friends. I cannot be putting in so much effort and not getting anything in return at this age. I have wiser ways to invest my time and better people to actually focus on. So that's lesson number 3 or 4, I can't remember. This lesson is about female friends, right? And one thing I noticed in my 30s is that many female friendships do not last after marriage. So you and this girl, you are both single, you are doing things together, and as soon as this your female friend gets married, it's almost like, they don't know how to maintain that. I don't know. And it's quite common with female or with women and girls after they marry, because I can see that many men maintain their healthy friendships after marriage. But women, even if you're cutting off toxic friends, I mean, why do you have toxic friends or bad friends in the first place? But they don't just cut off toxic friends, they also cut off healthy friendships. Like, they just isolate themselves. It's just them and their husband. Or because women tend to see marriage as a status. So you don't want to now, as a married woman who is now a woman of status in society, you don't want to now associate yourself with that your single friend, because you feel like, oh, your single friend is now less than you or no longer on your level. And it's such a shame, such a pity when women do this. It's really sad. Have I experienced it personally? I have just seen it. I think it's something I've noticed. Something I've noticed, because I have married male friends. I have married female friends as well. I think with my married people I'm really close with my married female friends, they're quite chill. Yeah, they reach out when they can and all of that. I think we are quite cool. But I've seen this particular lesson that I mentioned in other people's friendships, that female friendships, many of the time they die after marriage. And then the last lesson for friendship is that your friends will not always be able to show up for you in ways that you expect. I think I made a specific video about this particular one, and I said that, say for example, your friend is going through a heartbreak and you are having a wedding ceremony. Now, you might expect that, oh, that is the happiest day of your life. You want your friend to show up for you. But your friend in that moment is not even in the right mental state to be able to show up for you as a friend, or to be able to participate as a chief bridesmaid, And I think that as a mature person, you should be able to understand this, right? So the fact that your friend did not show up for you in your wedding or at a particular phase of your life when they could not, doesn't mean that they hate you. Because I feel like most times, especially women, we tend to assume that, oh, she's jealous, oh, she's insecure, oh, she's a hater. Not really. Some people might be going through things. I mean, I don't blame people who react in that way, because some people, the person going through the bad thing might be a poor communicator, might not communicate it as good as they should have communicated it. But I think it's something that you should have in mind, that there are times in your life where you showed up for this person and you expect that they show up for you in that way as well. But maybe vicissitudes of life or things happening in their life, maybe the person is, jobless, unemployed, and they are not able to go on a trip with you, or even in situations where you are in a friendship group, for example, and now all your friends are married, you went for their wedding, you bought their shobi, did everything for them, bought gifts for them. Now it is your turn, because you are the only single person in the friendship group, and nobody's able to show up for you as you showed up for them, because now your friends are now married, maybe they have children, they have families, they have other priorities, or maybe they're living on the other side of the country, and so they are not able to show up for you in the way that you showed up for them. That might breed resentment in friendship. But I'm saying all of this to say that it is very important, especially if you're in your 30s and you have a more mature mindset, right? The expectations that we have of friendships sometimes can be, they will not always be met, right? Our expectations of friendships may not always be met. So keep this in mind in your 30s, or if you're someone who will soon be 30. So I think I've stayed too long on the friendship lesson. Let me go next into lessons on self. So these are lessons I have learned about myself in my 30s. Now, the first lesson on self is that self-awareness is one thing you have to do for yourself. Self-awareness is one thing that you cannot delegate. You can't pay for someone to do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. You have to be self-aware. You have to take the time to get to know yourself, to know your flaws. Otherwise, you risk defining yourself by the definition or the opinions of other people. So if people think that, oh, you are not smart, because you don't even know yourself, you will accept that definition as that is who you are. If people call you, maybe you're not beautiful, if people say you are ugly, or you are this or you're that, you quickly absorb all of those definitions as yours. So that's why self-awareness is very, very important, because it sort of protects you. Because when you know yourself, you build like a bulwark that blocks other opinions, especially when they are negative opinions. It sort of blocks it from accessing you, because you're like, nope, that's not who I am. This is who I am, because I know myself. I'll spend the time to get to know myself. And in my upcoming book, I did mention 3 ways that you can discover yourself. Self-discovery is very important, and it's okay if you are still trying to figure out yourself, even in your 30s. It's okay if you are still trying to be self-aware, to know what you like, to know what your purpose is, to know, because actually I think another lesson that I would mention is that your preferences changes from when you're in your 20s to when you're in your 30s. I'll come to that, but let me just finish this on self-awareness. So your knowledge of yourself gives you like a protective shield. It gives you confidence. It helps you to build self-esteem, because you have spent the time to know yourself. And that leads me to the next point, which is your knowledge of yourself in your 20s might change in your 30s. I'll say that again. Your knowledge of yourself in your 20s might change in your 30s. So do not be stuck on one version of yourself. Do not be stuck on what you consider your purpose in your 20s. Even when you're in your 30s and you feel like that has changed, be open to accepting that change. Do not be stuck on one definition of yourself. If in your 20s you wanted to be a doctor, and now that you have become a doctor, you are now in your 30s and you want to be a businessman. I have a friend who I find him very impressive, because he spent all these years studying medicine, and then only for him to get to his 30s and realize that, well, it doesn't really want to practice medicine. It was like, oh, I did that degree for my parents because they actually wanted me to do that. Now I'm in my 30s. I'm going to live life for me. I do not want to do medicine. I want to do business. I want to go into real estate. I want to own businesses. I want to do this and that. And he's actually living his life to the full. So saying all of this to say, do not be stuck on one version of yourself, because the tastes, the preferences that you had when you were in your 20s might change, will most likely change when you're in your 30s. I think that's when they say your frontal lobe has now developed, right? So when your frontal lobe develops when you turn 25 or even older, then feel free to accept a new version of yourself. And I think for me personally, one thing I noticed is that some things I used to like, in fact, the colors I used to like when I was in my 20s were no longer what I liked. I think I used to like blue. In fact, that was one of the reasons I had to join Chelsea Football Club. I loved blue so much. Blue was my color. If you ask anybody who knew me when I was in my 20s, they will tell you, oh, blue is my favorite color. But not anymore. I still like blue, but it's not like my go-to color right now in my 30s. I think I gravitate towards colors like orange, green, teal. I think I like the way they feel and the look on my skin better than blue. So yeah, your preferences will change, and so will your purpose. And in my book, I defined purpose in two ways. So your purpose can be your assignment, that which you have been assigned by God to do. It doesn't necessarily mean your career or that one thing. So yes, even your purpose or your assignment will change over time. In your 30s, you might realize that, what you really desired, you wanted to do in your 20s is no longer what you want in your 30s. Be okay with yourself to change, because most times you feel like you know yourself. But then you get to your 30s and you realize that, this is a new version of you. This is a new chapter of you. I think, and I like the way they describe 30s as your new chapter. My mom used to say that you think you know someone. No, she used to say this about someone. You think you know someone, and then you get to a point and they open another chapter for you. And that is how it is with being in your 30s, transitioning from your 20s into your 30s. You feel like you know yourself in your 20s, or you're mature, or you just finished university, blah blah blah. And then you get to your 30s and you realize that, okay, I didn't know I liked this actually. Okay, I think I want to try that. I think I no longer want that. So be open to accepting the new version of yourself in your 30s. And the third lesson I learned about myself in my 30s is about purpose. I have learned that purpose is not what we describe it as. And I think I said this earlier. For me, our purpose is one thing. Our purpose is just one thing. But we have assignments. So for me, I believe that my purpose is to serve God. My purpose is to serve God with what I have, my talent, my skills, my gifts, right? However, I have assignments. So my assignment, for example, I am a writer, right? I love writing. I think writing is a calling, is a gift to me because of the way I write, because of the way things just come to my head. I can just sit down and in 2 hours, I will not even know when time passes. I'm writing like a 2,000 word article or book or whatever it is I'm writing. So writing comes to me quite naturally. So I think it's a calling. It's a gift for me. So my assignment might be to use my writing to impart knowledge, to create impact, to create societal change, to be a voice in my generation. So that might be my assignment. I can also have another assignment to use my social media platform, or as I am doing now, to speak about God, to speak about wisdoms that I have learned from my life, to share inspirations. That might be another assignment. And I might get to another time in my life where my assignment might be to open a school or a foundation or whatever. Right? And so our assignments can be multiple things, but our purpose is to serve God. So you can be a businessman as an assignment, but even in that business, you are using your business to serve God. It doesn't necessarily that you don't have to be selling spiritual goods, or maybe be selling crosses and whatnot, olive oil. No, you can be a proper businessman, but then you can please God in your business by not being greedy, by not selling substantial goods, by not cheating people. As a doctor, if to be a doctor is your assignment, you can use your assignment to fulfill your purpose by treating it as a vocation. So as a doctor, doctor, you don't, prescribe the wrong medication, you treat people with respect irrespective of their age and backgrounds, you are God-fearing, you are God-conscious in carrying out your duties even as a doctor. So in anything you choose to do, in any assignment you have been called to do, you can fulfill your purpose, which is to serve God in your assignment. So I see in my 30s, I had to learn this, right? And I wrote it in my book as well, that your purpose is to serve God first, and then you have assignments. So that's one lesson I have learned in my 30s. The fourth or fifth now? I can't remember. The next lesson I learned in my 30s is that we are all on different journeys, because one of the things you will quickly realize in your 30s is that your friends are at different levels in their life. As a matter of fact, when you're in your 20s, you didn't really have another age group to compare with, or the next age group were teenagers. So 20s teenagers, that's like, there's nothing like a teenager can do that you want to start comparing yourself with. But when you're in your 30s, now you have a generation before you to look back at and be like, oh, look at this 20-year-old girl doing this. What did I do in my 20s? Look at this 21-year-old guy. He's already driving a car. He's already doing this and that. And look at me in my 30s, and I still don't have my life figured out yet. So yes, it is very easy to slip into the slope of comparison in your 30s. And that is why I really like this pidgin English adage that says, now when your day break, night be your morning. Now when your day break, night be your morning, which means that it is when the things start happening for you. I don't know how to translate it to English. If you can translate this to English properly, please put it in the comments. I'll try my best. But I think that adage simply means it is when things start happening for you, that is when your life begins. The other person might already be living in their morning. Like the other person, their day has already broken. Did I even correct English? The other person, their day already break. For the other person, their day already break, right? But for you, your day never break. You still day night. But now when your day break, night be your morning. Anytime that is, whether it's your day break in your 30s, whether it breaks in your 20s, whether it breaks even later than that. Now your morning be that. So we all have different timelines. I think essentially that's what it means. We all have different timelines. So now when your day break, now be your morning. So focus on your own unique journeys, because we are all on different journeys, really. In your 30s, there's still a lot to do. I think 30s is actually your prime, because your 30s is your first proper year of adulthood. In your 20s, you were still living with your parents. You were still navigating the walls of university, still figuring out what you like, blah, blah, blah. If you did the mistakes you made when dating, when da. But now in your 30s, you are a full-blown adult. Any choice you make, any decision you make is fully yours. You are accountable for your own decisions. So I see 30s as your first year of adulthood. So don't feel like you have come to the apex of your life. There's nothing else that can happen in your 30s. Oh, no, you actually can. For me, I think I'll share this in another video. But for me, when I entered my 30s, I was actually excited. I was actually eager. Like, this is the age. This is the anti-age. Now, officially, I'm here. But if you ask me what being in your 30s feel like, I don't really know what that is. I don't know what that is. What does 30 feel like? I think I'll make a video about this. But anyway, that point is about focusing on your own journey, because we are all on different journeys. Your friends might be married. Your friends might be having multiple businesses. I think I have a friend who actually went back to school. She has, I think, 1 or 2 degrees already. She has had kids, and she went back to university because she wanted to accomplish a particular degree. There's this career that she really wants to get into, so she had to go back to university. Not masters or that you do for 1 year or 2 years. She had to go back to university again. And who says you can't in your 30s? You actually can. And I like people who are that audacious, who live their life like it is their life, because your life is your life. Live it like it is your own. I like people who take things by force, like, this is what I want and this is what I'm going to do. So in your 30s, it gives you the allowance to do that. So do not compare yourself. If all your friends are getting married and doing this, that's not the only achievement in the world. What do you want to do, and what does success mean to you? Because we are all on different journeys. And then now, I think the last lesson, yes, this is a bonus lesson that I learned about myself in my 30s. And it is the fact that in your 30s, you realize that your hormones have a mind of their own. I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but I feel like my hormones became more vibrant in my 30s. They tell me what to do and I have to really discipline myself to be like, okay, no. Like, they have a mind of their own, and that's one thing you realize in your 30s. I compare your 30s to when you were a teenager. You see the way your body was reacting when you were a teenager, those hormonal changes and those new things that were happening to your body, they become even more vibrant in your 30s. Yeah. Your hormones have a mind of their own in your 30s. That's one lesson I've learned about myself. Now, the next lesson is lessons on singleness. Lessons on singleness. So if you're a single Pringle, if you're unmarried, this is for you. The first lesson I learned about singleness in my 30s is that singleness is a calling. You see the way people aspire to marriage as, oh, that is it. Your singleness, your singlehood, your period of being unmarried is actually a calling. God puts you in that phase for a reason, for a purpose. Your singleness has a purpose. The freedom that comes with it, the time you have to yourself, the what you would call loneliness, or I prefer to call it aloneness, the solitude that you have to yourself, is not just for sitting and waiting. I made a video about your waiting season while you're single. I'll link it here in the description. Please watch it. It is very, very important. I see that period of you being single, especially in your 30s, as a calling. I mean, in any phase of your life, whether in your 20s or in your 30s, that period of you being single is not for you to desperately jump into any other relationship. Yes, be open to dating, but do not, because of your fear of being single, now rush into the wrong relationship, which is not for you, right? So I see your period of being single. I like to call it singlehood. Just pardon that vocabulary for me, please. Let me use it in this video. Your singlehood is purposeful. God put you in that season for a reason. Maybe he wants you to know him more. Maybe he wants you to spend more time with the Bible, spend more time serving him, spend more time knowing yourself, building self-awareness. Because if you are someone who desires to get married and you don't know yourself, you don't know your boundaries, you don't know your preferences, how are you going to then live with someone else? Because you have to know yourself to even then bring someone else into your life as a partner, or as a life partner, as it is, right? So God might put you in that single phase for you to spend time knowing yourself, for you to serve him in church using your free time, right? Because whether you like it or not, singleness comes with a lot of free time that you may not even have, most likely will not have when you're married. When you're married, even though you don't yet have children, you are no longer thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your partner. If you're a man, you're thinking about your wife. If you're a wife, you're thinking about your husband. You care about them. Oh, when are they going to come back from work? Oh, you're no longer thinking about yourself alone now. You now have someone else to worry about. So that alone can even occupy your mind. That alone can occupy a significant part of your mind, right? So yes, that your single phase comes with the freedom that you should use wisely and meaningfully. Time to serve in church, time to volunteer, time to build a career, time to save, time to create wealth, time to work on your character, time to heal from your trauma. Time to build yourself and stop saying, this is how I am, they accept me for who I am. No, time to change from that bad behavior. So your single phase is a lot. It comes with a lot of responsibility. I feel like we don't think about it as that. We just think about singleness or the period of being single as a waiting season. I personally don't like to refer to it as that. It's not a waiting season, because when we hear waiting season, we just feel like it's a season where you just sit down and wait for someone to come to you, your life partner to find you, or for you to now start hunting. If you're a man, looking for a woman, looking for... Your singleness is not just your waiting season. It is your thriving season. Your singleness is not just your waiting season, it is your thriving season. So instead of just sitting there hopelessly, desperately waiting, you can, yes, it's okay to pray, it's okay to desire marriage, but you can actually do something meaningful in your life. The places you've always wanted to go to, the places you've always wanted to travel to, things you've always wanted to do, the bungee jumping, the adventure, the roller coaster rides and everything. This is the time for you to explore life, do things, build a career, build a name for yourself, whilst you are figuring out who the right person is. So this lesson is that your singlehood, the phase of being single, is not just a waiting season. It is a purposeful and meaningful season that God has put you in. So please use it wisely. So that's 2 lessons in one. Your singlehood is not just for waiting. And the next lesson is that your singleness is a purposeful season. This 3rd lesson is very important, and it is the fact that someone is good doesn't mean they are good for you. I'll say that again. That someone is good doesn't mean they are good for you. I think this is important because when you are single and searching, you meet different people in your life. You have good friends, you have good people, but some people are just meant to be in your life for other reasons than dating or marriage. There are good people, good men in my life that I know they are not meant for me to date. They're not meant to be my partner. In fact, we are not even compatible in that way, but they are good people. But it doesn't mean that they are compatible with me, or they're not. It doesn't mean that they are the one that God has destined to be my person, right? So don't end up dating all the good people in your life. Don't end up dating all your friends because they are good. The fact that they are good doesn't mean they are good for you. Someone can be good, can be nice, can be kind, but that doesn't mean that you guys are compatible or that they will make a good life partner. So the fact that someone is good doesn't mean they are good for you. Number 4 lesson on singleness. You don't have to always be in a relationship. Be comfortable with being single. I think I said this earlier when I was sharing one of the lessons. Be okay with being by yourself. Some people dread being alone. I remember someone asking me one time, how was I spending my birthday? I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the cinema. And they said, oh, you're going to go to the cinema alone? Really? I was like, yeah, sure. Because to them, it is such a foreign idea for anyone, especially a woman, to go to the cinema by themselves. But for me, I do not live life waiting for people. I do not live life waiting to have a partner before I travel to this place or before I do this. I live my life to the full because when I was created or when I was born as a single individual. So, and I'm going to stand before God as a single individual, whether I am married or not. So I'm not going to pause my life to say, oh, let me wait till I have a partner before I'll go to the cinema or before I'll travel to this place, to Miami, to Japan, to these places I want to go. No, your life should not be on a pause. Your life is meant to be lived with or without another. Do you understand? So be comfortable with being by yourself. And that's why you have to spend time getting to know yourself, especially when you're single. Spend time building self-awareness. Don't always jump in with people, friends, and without actually being intentional about it. Be comfortable with being by yourself. Don't be scared of living in the house by yourself. Don't be scared of loneliness. Like, don't be scared of being alone. You can be with people and still feel lonely. But when you go on your own, you're on your own, you have solitude, you don't feel lonely. So there's a difference between loneliness and aloneness. Loneliness is when you're bored and depressed all by yourself. But there are many people, including myself, that I actually like my own company. I like to be by myself. I enjoy my own company. There's a lot to do. Like, I actually enjoy myself. I like myself that much to be by myself. And I also equally enjoy the company of other people. So be comfortable with being single. There are phases in your life where you just came out of a relationship. The next action is not for you to jump into another relationship. You actually are supposed to take that time out, reflect on the lessons you learned from that relationship, the mistakes that you made. What did you do right? What should you do better in this relationship that you are going to enter when they come. It's not for you to jump. Some people, because of the fear of being single or because of the fear of being alone, they just jump into any relationship. And personally, I don't like to date casually. I date with intention. I date intentionally. So you have to be comfortable being by yourself. Because even after you're married, you can still be lonely in marriage, right? Maybe your partner is someone who doesn't really care about you that much, or your partner travels a lot. So what will you do by yourself? What will you do with yourself? Will you have to now go and look for friends? Oh, please, oh, I'm looking for friends. Oh, I'm lonely. No. Be comfortable being by yourself. Be comfortable with being single. As I said earlier in my first point, that your singleness period is actually a purpose. It comes, you being single is a purpose. There's a reason why God is keeping you there, or why you are single. So reflect on that and learn. Do not be afraid of being single. Now, lessons on relationship and dating. Number 1 lesson: make your boundaries known from the start. If you are dating, do not be afraid of communicating the things that you like. Maybe even in your talking stage, these are things that I like. Because some people, they are afraid of being open because they don't want to push the person away, or because they want to pretend to be someone else so that the person will like them. And I personally do not recommend that. From the very start, let the person know what you like. This is how you like your things to be done. This is what you prefer. This is how you prefer to be communicated to. You don't like to be shouted on. You don't like beating. You don't like physical abuse. This is what will make you leave a relationship. Make your deal breakers, your boundaries known from the very start. Because what you tolerate is what you become. If you become quiet and patient from the beginning, that you are going to continue to be that, even when you're dating or when you eventually marry the person. So I mean, communicate. Be able to communicate your desires, your preferences, your boundaries. Be able to communicate. Make it known from the very start. And that leads me to my next lesson. If you ignore the signs, you will see wonders. This is a very common phrase used in the Nigerian space. I don't know if it's common in other spaces. Signs and wonders. Now we say, if you ignore the signs, you will see wonders. What that means essentially is that if you are dating or talking to someone and you are noticing red flags or yellow flags or gold flags, what do they call them? Instead of addressing them or simply exiting the relationship there and then, you now wait till you're married and this and that, and you want to fix it now. No, you can't fix it now. So if you ignore the signs, you will see wonders. It will become worse. That will be the wonders that you will see. It will become even worse while you're dating. I think I saw this video recently of this woman who said that she married a pastor. So the man, at the time of when they were dating, the man was not really well to do. He wasn't financially strong, but she was from a good family, and she had a stable life, a stable career, stable income and everything. But then her own family was pushing back against her marriage with that man, because they were like, oh, the man is not good enough, blah blah blah. But she was like, well, wealth or finances is not really that much of a challenge, right? I like him, I think he has potential, blah blah blah. So she went ahead and married the man. On the day of their wedding, she said she had artificial nails on. Only for this man, after she had walked to the altar to meet him, the man insisted that there and then she must remove her nails. She was like, oh, if I just made it, if I move it, it will, injure my natural nails, blah, blah, blah. So, but the man insisted that she uses her teeth to bite, and there and then she had to remove the nails. And a few other things that she saw. She telling the story now. He's saying that at that point in time, even on the altar, she still had the option to walk away. But she didn't. She ignored all of those and then got married to this man. This man started maltreating her, beating her, telling her that why would she marry a poor man, that she must have an agenda, that she wants to do something to him, blah, blah, blah. But she had no intention of that. She just loves this man, right? So she lowered her standard for this man and everything, only for this man to turn. So in all of this, saying all of this to say that According to her story, she said that she saw the signs, but she ignored them and went in with the marriage, only to stay 28 years and sustain damage before she eventually left that abusive marriage. So again, if you ignore the signs, you will see wonders. Number 3 lesson on dating and relationships. Don't just wait to be chosen. You can also choose. Don't just date someone because they like you. What about you? Do you like them? Don't just date someone because they have selected you. Oh, he likes me. Oh, he does all these things for me. That's why you want to date him. But there's nothing about you that likes him. There's nothing about you that say, oh, there's something I value in him. That, you're not actively choosing who you want to be with or who you potentially want to spend the rest of your life with. And that is a problem, because as a mature person, as an adult, especially in your 30s, you should be actively choosing people based on your standards, based on your likes, your preferences, based on what you want, not just what they want, right? And I see that oftentimes in engagement ceremonies. You know those surprise engagements where the guy will come, maybe the girl and the guy will go out, and then the guy will come and pull up with a ring and say, oh, will you marry me, on one knee? And the girl will be like, whoa, this is new. This is a surprise. We didn't even talk about marriage, so how come? And she might end up walking away from the engagement and all of that. The guy will surprised or embarrassed or crying even. And I think this is because they have not, as a couple, communicated what they want. The guy just assumed that because I like her, because she's a wife material, I think I want to marry her. And then he goes ahead to get a ring and blah, blah, blah. But he never for once stopped to think, oh, does she feel the same about me? Does she want to marry me? Does she see me as a father of her children? Blah, blah, blah. The guy just assumes she's a wife material. Because it is culture or normal for men to choose or for men to be proactive, that doesn't mean that the choices and preferences of women should be ignored. So if you're a man, don't just go for a lady because you like her. Be sure that they feel the same about you as well. Because some ladies might just feel like, oh, he likes me. You have to secure yourself as well. You have to know whether they like you the way you like them. They feel the same. It has to be mutual, right? So don't just date someone because they like you. You also have the ability to actively date, to actively choose who you want to be with. Yes, he likes you. Be like, oh, I don't like you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I do not feel the same about you. Right? So, yes. Lesson number 4 that I noticed in my 30s when it comes to relationship and dating is that dating in your 30s comes with a lot of intolerance. No time for bullshit. In your 30s, you become a lot pickier. You become a lot more selective. Like, there's no time for let's see how this goes. You already know how this will go. Achalugo, you already know how this will end. So you have no time for nonsense, and you just get irritated by nonsense, really. And that's the thing I noticed in my 30s when dating, is that I just know from the start what is and what isn't. I just know. No time for tolerating nonsense. You become less patient, you become impatient with nonsense compared to in your 20s, where you are much more tolerant. You are more like, okay now, all of that. But in your 30s, you're like, this is what I want. Your boundaries become more clearer. Your standards become even higher. That's why I laugh when they say, oh, people in their 30s, if you get to your 30s and you are single, your taste will go higher. You will not just like reduce or lower your standards. Because of how mature you are, because of how much your frontal lobe has developed, you stand by your standards. You know what you want. You are wiser. You are more knowledgeable of what you want. You are now aware of mistakes and patterns to avoid. So you have less tolerance for nonsense, right? So that is one thing I noticed in my 30s. Less tolerance for nonsense, and you become a lot more picky in your 30s. Number 5, lessons on relationship and dating. I think I mentioned this when I was talking about self. And it is the fact that your choice of partner in your 20s might be different in your 20s. Maybe you used to like guys with pink lips, But now in your 30s, your frontal lobe has developed and you're like, what is pink lips? You have a much more mature definition of what you want in a partner. So your standards automatically change. That's one of the things I noticed in my 30s. The things I used to even actually like a particular culture in Nigeria. That was like, oh, I really would like to marry someone from this culture. Only for me to get to my 30s and it had just taken a total U-turn into something entirely different. So in your 30s, you will see that some of the preferences that you had when it comes to dating in your 20s have now changed. So be open to that change. That is one major lesson I have learned in my 30s. Now, lessons on life. One of the things you will notice in your 30s is that life can sometimes give you a what I ordered versus what I got kind of situation. So in my 20s, actually in my teens, when I was a teenager, because I finished secondary school at 16. When I was a teenager, I had my life already defined, right? I knew I wanted to school abroad. I had this grandiose view or dream when it comes to life. And then I'm going, and along the line, in leading into my 30s, I realized that, okay, what's going on here? I am getting what I ordered versus what I got. Okay. I don't really understand this. What's happening? And I think very quickly, I learned this in my 20s actually. I didn't actually wait till my 30s before I learned this. But I very quickly had to learn to take the back seat in my life. Before I was at the driver's seat. But I had to pull over and let the Almighty take the driver's seat while I chill at the back, because I was like, anytime I take the wheel, I don't know where it's going. So maybe I will just like park, because I have this certain expectation of my life, but maybe God has something different. So yes, life will give you sometimes, in your 30s especially, life will give you a what I ordered versus what I got. Lesson number 2, life will not always be exciting, filled with something to do, filled with productivity or a goal to chase. Sometimes life can be boring. Life can be chaotic. Life can be directionless. And what I've learned in my 30s is to sit with the boredom. Before, especially in my 20s, I used to be productivity driven. Oh, if I'm not doing something at a particular point in my life, I feel so useless. I feel like I'm wasting my life. Oh my God, what am I supposed to do? But now, if I don't have anything to do, I don't fill up the space. I just allow myself to sit in the silence, to be like, okay, we are here now. Okay. Reflect, meditate, rest, sleep. I don't have to always be writing a book or be volunteering somewhere or be doing one job or chasing one dream career, blah, 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 blah. Life will not always give you something to worry about. Life will be like, just chill. Just chill. How do they say it in Igbo? GCK, Abi? GCK, something like that. But yeah, relax, chill. Life can be chill sometimes. You just look at your life and be like, everybody is traveling abroad. Everybody is going to Marrakesh. Everybody is having children. Everybody is doing this, starting business. Oh, the tech founder, this, that. What about me? And your life is like, relax, take a nap, just chill. That is also life. Okay. Lesson number 3 on life. Life is a journey, not a destination. I like this one a lot because I came up with an entire, should I say, analogy or metaphor that I shared in my upcoming book about life. Should I spill the tea? Maybe not. Let me just leave it at this. Life is a journey, not a destination. The purpose of life is not to arrive at the end. The purpose of life is to live it. Life is like you in a market. The purpose of you going to that market is not to finish buying and go home. The purpose of you going to that market is to buy, to enjoy the process of shopping, of buying things, of finding what you want. That is the purpose of that market, of you being in that market. And that's how I see life. Life is a journey, not a destination. So this is a journey. Enjoy the process. Do not let your life be the type where you are waiting till you get this $50 million before you will be happy. Happiness is not something you can attain. Happiness is something that you live in the moment. That your small kitchen, 1-bedroom apartment, block house, you are happy with it. That is the process. That's how I see life. That's why at every stage of my life, I try as much as possible to not be gloomy, but to bask in it, because I won't have it back. I look back at my 20s and I'm like, okay, I did this, I did that. I'm happy. I'm glad I did that. Right? So yes, I look back at my 20s. I'm like, I can't have it back. I look back at my teens and I cannot have it back. But while I was there, what did I do? So life is a journey. Enjoy the process of it. This place you are now, married with a kid, enjoy it, because tomorrow that kid might grow up and you look back at, oh, when I was a young mom, what did I do? Oh, when I was unmarried, what did I do when I was single? Oh, when I was in my 20s, what did I do? So live every phase of your life in the moment, right there and then, because that is how life is meant to be lived. Once again, life is a journey, not a destination. Lessons on God, Almighty God. Number one lesson is that God doesn't always speak. Sometimes God is silent. God does not always speak. Sometimes God is silent. And this is very important to know, because there might be a phase in your life where God is just silent. You have prayed, you have done everything, and He's just silent. And then you are tempted to want to go and seek help somewhere. You want to try and go and see this pastor, see this man, see this woman. What does God have to say about my life? They might end up giving you the wrong diagnosis. They might end up telling you what actually isn't. Remember the story of the Israelites. God was with them throughout, but there are times where God was silent. I think there are people who call it a wilderness journey in their life. Whenever God is silent, they'll be like, oh, I'm in my wilderness journey. Yes, because God can be silent. God is not always saying things. People who are very quick to say, oh, God told me that, God said, God did this. I'm like, I look at them with some side eye sometimes, because I'm like, God does not always speak. Sometimes He's silent about a particular thing you have been praying for, about something you desire, about something you already asked Him. God might be silent. God can sometimes be silent, right? But then one thing I've come to learn is that God's silence does not mean He's absent. And I see this in the story of the 3 boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, in Daniel. Yes, Daniel chapter 3. You see that these are people who are faithful to God. They said they will not worship the God that the king Nebuchadnezzar had produced, that they will only worship Almighty God. And the king said, I will throw you into the fiery furnace. And they're like, even if you throw us in, even if God will not save us, we will still not serve your God. And then God was silent throughout all of this persecution that they were going through. And then they were thrown into the fire. Guess what? God was still silent. In fact, God did not prevent them from being thrown into the fire. God did not stop them from being thrown. But guess what? God was with them in that fire. The king looked and saw that there was a 4th man in the fire. And he was like, was it not 3 boys you threw into the fire? How come there is a 4th person there? And he looked and saw that the boys that he even threw inside the fire were not even burning. The person who threw them in the fire was burnt, was hurt by the fire. But the boys that were thrown into the pit of fire were not hurt, and they were brought out alive. That's a massive miracle. But that tells you that when God is silent, it doesn't mean He's absent. He is there, always in our life, by our side, silently sitting there, watching us. Always, He said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So, yes, you will walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Yes, He might not say anything, but He is with you. That's the assurance that we have, that even when He's silent, He is there. So God does not always speak. Sometimes he's silent, but not absent. This particular lesson I've had to learn the hard way. And it is the fact that God will sometimes tell you the next step only after you have taken the first. I'll say that again. God will tell you the next step only after you have taken the first. So this is where obedience comes in. He told Abraham, get up and go to the land I will show you. He had not shown Abraham the land though. He said, get up and go. That means when he has already gotten up, left his house and start going, God will now say, take left, take right. So it is when we have taken the first step, that's where he shows us the next. But if you are someone who, like me, likes to have everything figured out, I'm a very logical person. In fact, when I was younger, I already planned my life, how it's going to go. But God had other plans. That's why we are here. So yes, you have to just let go of your will sometimes. I think I wrote a tweet that says, if you are overly meticulous, overly logical, overly planned and strategic, you can't work with God. Because God does not work like that. God sometimes goes another way. I think Isaiah says, as far as the heaven is from the earth, so are his ways from ours. That doesn't mean, however, that sometimes our will and God's will cannot be the same. Yes, our will and God's will can be the same sometimes. There are things that you desire for yourself, and that's also God's desire for you as well. So I like to put this disclaimer, because most times when we think about the will of God, we always think that God's will is this. Or if I like this guy, it means God will want me to like another person. That's why most times when we pray, we don't like to say, God, let your will be done. Because we always assume that God's will is different from ours. But no, God's will is not always different from ours. However, there are times where his will for us might be different from ours. And we have to learn to let go and let God. To let go and let God, because he doesn't make mistakes. Yeah, he doesn't make mistakes. And those who wait on him shall renew their strength, as says the Bible. The last lesson on God is that not every good idea is a God idea. Not every good idea is a God idea. Anyway, let me pause here to say, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. This is a new channel that I'm trying to grow, and I really love and appreciate your support. So please subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. Not every good idea is a God idea. Yes, very important, because there are times where you really want to do something and you did the thing was successful. The fact that that thing was successful doesn't mean that it was God that sent you message. The fact that that thing was successful doesn't mean that God backed it. Maybe you want to study abroad, you want to go abroad. You did go abroad successfully, seamlessly. But ease and speed doesn't necessarily mean that God is there. Armed robbers, they successfully rob. Sometimes they rob and do bad things successfully, and then they will go scot-free. But that doesn't mean that the backing of God is behind them. Not because God sent them that message. So there are times where you will do something, you have this brilliant idea, and you feel like, oh yes, it's so good, I don't need to pray about it. No, you do have to pray about it. You do have to consult God about it, just like David did. Should I pursue and overtake? Yes, pursue and overtake. Those are his enemies. That's a good thing. He would be justified to do that. But he still asked, should I pursue and overtake? And God said, pursue, you will overtake, you will overcome, blah, blah, blah. Right? So even when you have a good idea, it doesn't mean that it's a God idea. So ask. You might have seen this amazing girl, this nice person in church and everything. I feel like, oh, this is my wife. Oh, I can feel it in my spirit. The Holy Spirit said. Once I hear the Holy Spirit said, hold it right there, because most times people throw that phrase around. Sometimes even in a sacrilegious way, that even you are lying against God. You're lying against the Holy Spirit. So yes, not everything that feels good is from the Holy Spirit. I just knew it was from the Holy Spirit. No. Go and pray. Go down on your 2 knees and pray and ask God, did you say pursue and overtake? Did you say this is the one? Did you say this is the way? Because the Bible says, I will tell you the way. Go left, go right. He will give you direction. So yes, everybody's going abroad. Everybody's jackbuying. Is that God's plan for you? Do you know if that's God's plan for you? So yes, you might even successfully jackpot and go there. Only 1, 2, 3 years in, and you realize that, oh, this is not really what God asked me to do. You go back to square one again. So yes, not every good idea is a God idea. That business you want to start, it might sound good, but still pray about it. Still consult God about it. That's why we are children of God. Lessons on marriage. It is easier to fantasize about marriage than to be married in reality. It is easier to fantasize about marriage than to do marriage in reality. Because in reality, marriage is work. In reality, marriage is not just all that wedding gown or you appearing in a limousine or whatever vehicle you want to appear in. In reality, marriage is sacrifice. Marriage is living with someone perpetually. You cannot just wake up and say, yeah, I'm going to my father's house, I'm tired of. No, you are married. You can't just wake up and say, I want to make a decision now. You have to consult your wife. Yes. So marriage is work. Marriage is a lot. It's way beyond the butterflies and the fantasizing of it. Marriage is a lot. So yes, one of the lessons I've learned in my 30s is that marriage is work. It is easier to fantasize about marriage than to do marriage in reality. But it's not impossible. Marriage is beautiful. And this leads nicely into the next point. Number 2, lesson number 2. Marriage is like living with a flatmate forever. Till death do you part. Or till divorce do you part, maybe. So you have to choose that flatmate well. In my book, which will be out soon, I went into detail about how to choose a life partner, what to look out for when choosing a life partner. Because imagine, I don't know if you have ever lived with a flatmate or a roommate who is so... I once had a flatmate once who I was like, God, what is this? It was crazy. And we were not even sharing the same room. We had our separate rooms. We only shared the kitchen and the bathroom together. And yet, even in the few times where we'll be in the kitchen together, there will always be issues. Oh, who is washing the toilet today? Who is doing this one? Or I will wash and she will not want to wash. Like, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. So if you think of the stress that comes with living with a flatmate, think of it in long term. That's how marriage is. As I said, marriage is beyond the butterflies, everything. Yes, you love this person, but they will do annoying things. Things that will make you be like, if you were my flatmate, I would have packed out of this house, or I would have kicked you out of this house. But they're not your flatmate. They are your spouse, your life partner. You are sharing the same space forever. They will be in your faces. You go to work, you come back, you will meet them there. They are waiting for you. So that's how marriage is. Simplistically, is like living with a flatmate. So choose your flatmate wisely. Lesson number 3 on marriage. The first time your partner hears something that you are offended by should not be during an argument. I'll say that again. The first time your partner, your spouse, your husband, your wife hears about something that you are offended by should not be during an argument. So if your partner used to put his leg on the chair and you're like, you don't like it, you have never mentioned it to him before, and then people get into an argument and be like, look at you, this dirty man, you always put your leg on the chair. No. If your wife has like mouth odor, or very early in the morning she has a stinky breath, the first time she's hearing about it should not be in an argument where you now come and say, look at you, this nonsense woman with your dirty smelling mouth every day that I'm even managing. No. Communication is key. So in marriage, you have to be willing to not to confront, but to have difficult conversations. If you are someone who never likes to talk about things, you're going to keep bottling them up, and it will come to a time where there will just be an outburst. It will just burst out, and it will come in a hurtful way to your partner, to your spouse, and you don't want to do that. You want to be that partner that even when you're angry, you are still the loving partner to your spouse. Even when you're mad, when you are mad, it's not when you throw out all the morals or all the love out of the window. No, you are still their spouse. They are still the love of your life, even when you're mad. So let it be that you call them, you tell them what you are offended by before it leads to an outburst. So the first time your partner hears something you are offended by should not be during an argument, because that would be very hurtful. Let it come out in another time, in a calm time. Be comfortable with rocking the boat. Yes, you don't like something, you're not satisfied in this way, blah, blah, blah. Sit them down, talk to them, whether it's in the middle of the night, you want to do that cliche, waking them up at night to tell them what is going on, or you take them out for dinner to tell them, or you just slip it in a joke or something, but tell them. Let it not come out in an argument for the first time. Lesson number 4, see finish. That's a Nigerian phrase which means over familiarity. And I used to say that one of my biggest fears in marriage is see finish, because see finish leads to disrespect, disregard. The person no longer values you, no longer values your opinion. They no longer see you as important. See finish even leads to cheating, to abuse, because they no longer respect you, they no longer regard you. So see finish is over familiarity, and what you want to avoid that in a relationship. It is very easy to get used to seeing this person every day and just getting used to their presence in your life. But instead of seeing it in that way, see it as you get to be with this person. You get to be with this person for the rest of your life. So value it. Do things that will ignite the love, the fire, the spark, the chemistry that you both once had at the beginning of the marriage or of the relationship. Because see finish over familiarity can easily and very quickly destroy any relationship. Do not underestimate the abilities of your partner, because you see them every day in the house. They wake up naked next to you and you now feel like you know them too much. I like to think that no matter how much you know your partner, your spouse, your husband, your wife will wake up a different person every day. The person you married when you were both in your 20s is different from the person that is now in her 30s when now you are both married in your 30s. So let's say you married in your 20s, you both were young and frail and this and that and cheerful. Now you are both now in your 30s, you are now more mature. You are both different people. That change will happen again when you people turn 35. It will happen again when you turn 40. You become another person again when you turn 50. So be open to seeing the new person that your partner is becoming every day of their life. Be open to seeing them instead of seeing them as this person, this small girl where I married that time, this small boy where I married that time. No, the person has now become a man. She has now become a woman. So see them, see the new person, see the new version of them that they become every day. That way, see finish can be avoided. You value the person instead of just becoming over familiar with the person. The final lesson on career. You don't have to always turn your passion or your hobby into an income. Some things are meant for you to enjoy. Maybe you love baking as a hobby. You're very passionate about baking. You create new recipes every now and then someone else says to you, why don't you turn this into a business? It can be a business, right? The person listens and then becomes a professional baker or chef or whatever, and they no longer enjoy baking anymore, because it's almost like they're no longer baking for themselves or baking because they enjoy it. They're now baking because they have to make money from it, because they are baking for other people now. It's no longer theirs. So for me, I believe that there are some things that are meant for you to enjoy. I used to have a friend who, she's a really good writer. She used to say she loves writing. She used to say, oh, imagine if I go to an organization now, I start working as a writer, I would not feel like I'm doing any work. Come to find out, this lady got a job in a company where she was the writer. She would write and then someone else will review her writing and they will give her feedback. She will improve on it, blah, blah, blah. And it got to a point where my friend just got frustrated. She was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I think she resigned from the job, and she just like stopped writing. And when you ask her what job she wants to go into next, she'll be like, I don't want anything to do with writing. Writing is for me. I write because I love it. I write because I want to write stories that I want to write, not because I am being told to write, not because someone is going to be reading my work and scrutinizing my writing, my vocabulary, blah, blah, blah. So it almost felt like when she started working as a writer, even though she loves writing as a passion, it's like that employer was taking and snatching her passion away from her. So some things are just meant to be yours for you to enjoy. You love writing, you love speaking, you love doing this. You can turn it into an income if you want, but if you don't want, don't feel bad about it. It's meant for you to enjoy. Number 2, lesson on career. Your dreams change. The same way you change, the same way you metamorphose with age from your 20s into your 30s and you like different things, so do your dreams. The dreams you had in your 20s might be different from the ones you have in your 30s. Even your dream job changes. So what you dreamed to become in your 20s might be different from what you now desire to become now in your 30s. So in my 20s, I used to be told that, it would be good for me to start up a foundation, because I used to really do like good fundraisers for some of my community development projects, to do charity, blah, blah, blah. So people used to think, you'll be really good if you start up a foundation. And then I went to do my master's, and I just like fell in love with something entirely different. And now in my 30s, I can't start up a foundation, an NGO, but do I want to? Not really. So you see, that dream that I had, I was like, okay, let me do this master so I can, gain the academic wisdom to run a foundation. I finished the master's and that just went out the window. So your dream jobs even can change in your 30s. Be open to it. Yeah, change is the only constant thing in life, because dreams have seasons. So the dreams you had in your 20s might be different from now that you are in your 30s, because this is an entirely different season of your life. Lesson number 3. If you feel called to do something, don't feel deterred by the fact that that niche or that industry is already saturated, because your voice is unique. The sky is large enough to accommodate all our talent, all our skills. God puts them in us, and he knows that there is space for us to exist and to thrive. So don't feel like, that place is already overpopulated. There are already too many makeup artists. There are already too many nail tech. Look, I'm just starting a YouTube channel, and there are millions of YouTubers already, but that did not stop me, right? So if you are drawn or you're called to do something, do not feel deterred by the oversaturation of the niche. There is a space for you, because your voice is unique and your voice matters. And guess what? The world wants to hear your voice. The world wants to hear what you have to say or what you can do. So show up, and show up loudly. Now we have come to the final lesson of this video. Before I share the final lesson, please, if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe, and also drop a line that you have taken away from this video. One of the lessons that you think is valuable, that you really like. Drop a comment of that lesson from this video that you have taken away. Drop it in the comments, or you can add your own lesson. Drop it in the comment as well. Now, the last lesson on career, it is blow your trumpet. Your work will not speak for itself. Speak for your work, especially if you are working in the corporate world. My goodness, I had to learn this the hard way. Gosh. Okay. It is very important to learn to blow your trumpet at work. I used to be that person that I just want to do my thing and just chill. Let people see it for themselves. Like, the work can speak for itself. I don't have to announce that, I did this the other day. I had a lot of challenges doing this. I did so much for that. I don't know how to announce myself. It's actually a challenge I even still currently face. I can promote people's work on social media, but when it comes to my work, there's just this reluctance or nonchalance that comes with promoting my work, or just constantly being in people's faces. But there are people that are really good at this. I used to have a colleague then when I was working in corporate. She would, even if she cleans this table, she wipes it. she'll go and tell our manager, oh, do you know how dirty that table was? I had to wipe it. And I'm just looking at her, I'm like, okay. But she was so good at professionally blowing her trumpet at work. And guess what? Guess who gets pointed to as the most hardworking employee? Guess who gets the award? Guess who gets the spotlight? Guess who gets the promotion? She, that lady, because she was so good at helping people, drawing light to what she's doing. Because most time we think people are noticing us, but people are too absorbed in their own work, in their own self, to even notice you. Because so sometimes you have to intentionally put yourself out there. Plug your work, whether it is on LinkedIn, on social media. Speak for your work. I do this. I am a painter, I'm a carpenter, I'm a writer. Speak for your work. Your work will not always be noticed by people. Speak for your work. Let your mouth do the talking as your hands are doing the working, because your work will not always speak for itself. Learn to blow your trumpet at work in a professional way. I share details of how to blow your trumpet at work in my upcoming book, so keep your eyes out for that book. So I think at this point we have exhausted all I wrote down, all the lessons on singleness, on self, on friendship, on relationships and dating, on marriage, on career, on God, and on life. So on 8 themes, I shared 4 or 5 lessons under each of them. Okay, we have officially come to the end of this video. Oh my god, I haven't talked this long in such a long while, but I'm excited. I'm happy to share. So please, if you took anything from this video, please leave a comment. If there's a lesson that got to you that really made sense to you, leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. Share this video on your stories, share the link with your friends, and let me know how you feel about it. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you, and bye bye.